Very, very good trio of females out here. And honestly, I'm putting one third that I like quite a bit. And honestly, her best days are to come. And that's nothing taken away. These top two are really good. And yet the one that wins in motion for me. You study this one from the ground up. She's huge-footed. She's sound-structured. She covers her track so flawlessly. And then when the young man gets her parked, she's striking in terms of her look, her neck, and how it sits into the top side of her shoulder. More importantly, get in front of her, get behind her. There's some natural width and spread there. She's a good-chested female. For a young heifer calf, she's fresh. She's good in her chest floor. It sits in her good. Her body shape is right on target. And you get in behind her, she's got some natural spread, natural dimension. That's a really nice heifer calf to lead us off. To me, I guess I debated a little bit more between second and third, and they're complete opposites. This one in second is loaded with body shape. She's loaded with power when you get on top of her, presented extremely good. I like her head and her neck. To me, in comparison to the one that leads off, and actually the one in third, I'd just like to freshen her up. She's got just a little bit more on her than maybe what I prefer. Like to set her down just a little more comfortably. If you study her out of her pin bone, hock to ground, I didn't quite as sound as that heifer that leads us off. That's a good heifer, though, in terms of just body mass, true dimension, still giving you an awesome look from the side. This one here in 3 is the freshest. There's no doubt about it. She's real sound structured, love her in motion, like her body shape, and just her extra femininity refinement, to me, reads long term. Today, she gets a little off in her hip. She doesn't have quite as much just overwhelming body shape or overwhelming power as the ones that precede her, but I'm telling you, that's a good trio of Key Angus females. Congratulations to all those kids.
Well, congratulations in Class 2 and your late junior heifer calf division. First place will go to back number 7007 BMW Ace 2 101 KET, exhibited by Braylon Schaefer, Hagerstown, Indiana. Second place in reserve in that division will go to back number 7008. Congratulations to Luke Jennings. In third place in that class, exhibited by Rex Harrison. We'll now bring in Class 3, Key Angus heifers born February of 2022.
Interesting pair here and quite different in terms of their kind. The heifer I lead off with really neat up front, and yet In this particular pair, she has the advantage just in terms of true dimension and substance. Her body shape, she turns more aggressively out of the top of her spine in terms of her forerib, her mid-body, back into her rear rib and flank. And there's a lot of power in this female out of her hip as well in terms of her upper pin set all the way down to her lower hip and stifle. You know, maybe needs to set down just a little more comfortably in her rear foot, maybe intensify her at the ground there. I actually thought she had a little bit more bend and set to her hock, though, than the 1 and 2. This is a good heifer that's real neat up front, has a lot of body shape, a lot of power to go along with it. This 1 and 2 from the side, I really like some things about her. Her body shape, she's real deep and soft in that forerib, all the way back into her rear rib and flank. She's real square-hipped at the standstill as well and level from hooks to pins. You get in behind her and watch her go away. We got to have just a little more power, a little more turn and spread in terms of her body shape, and just relax her in her hind leg. That's a good pair of cattle, though. Congratulations in that particular division.
Well, congratulations in Class 3 in your early junior heifer calf division. Your champion will go to back number 7010 LLW Card Caroline's Channel 536K, exhibited by Tayden Miller. Second place in reserve in that class will go to Kevin Hessner. We're now going to look to bring in Class 4 Key Angus females born November of 2021.
Just a single entry here the young lady brings us, and one that is so feminine about her head and her neck and her shoulder, really fresh for her stage of the game and age, and I certainly appreciate that. Her chest sits in her good. Love her body shape from the side and how smooth she transitions from her shoulder all the way back out through her hip. Study her in motion. She covers her stride. She's comfortable. Her pins remain square in motion as well. That's a really nice heifer. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations in Class 4. This will also be your champion senior heifer calf. Back number 7013, GOP Judy Garland 114J, exhibited by Kennedy Evans. We'll now get started with your next class. This will be Class 5, Key Angus heifers born August of 2021.
Another single entry August heifer here, and one that brings forth a lot of power and spread. If you get in behind her and just study her body shape, there's a lot of boldness, a lot of just shape and turn out of the top of her spine there into her lower body wall. From the side, she's fresh about her head and her neck and her chest. You know, in motion, we could maybe just relax her in terms of her spine and the looseness of her lower joints, but that's a good heifer in terms of moderation, body, and just sheer power.
Well, congratulations over here in the Key Angus ring. Results out of Class 5. Your champion summer yearling will go to KMEM Stella 184J, exhibited by Peyton Buck. We'll now bring in Class 6. This will be Key Angus heifers born April of 2021.
Another tremendously good class and a really nice heifer to lead us off with. And to me, her main advantage in this particular setting is her structure. She's so flawless at the ground. She takes a big step off either end. She's fresh in terms of her head and her neck. I love her body shape because from the side, she's so soft and maternal, and yet you get in behind her, she's still got some turn and she's still got some spread. Is she maybe as stout as the heifer in 2? Probably not, but by no means is she flat. She's still got some turn. She's still got some proportion. This heifer balances extremely well from the side. And like I said, in this setting, she is super sound structured and loose in terms of her spine. This heifer in 2 is no question the stoutest heifer in here. She's really dimensional up high and real powerful out of her hip, her pin set all the way down to her stifle. And, she's fresh as well. You get her in motion, though. She gets just a little piecey up front. Like to reel her in terms of her shoulder and just make her more comfortable off either end. That's a good heifer, though, in terms of moderation and sheer power. This heifer in 3rd, really fresh as well. I love her head and her neck and her chest. When she settles down and stops, she's very balanced. Her chest floor in relation to her flank's good. Maybe just runs out of the extras, just a little plainer in terms of her kind and her balance from the side. Didn't overwhelm me with quite as much body shape, but I do like her balance. I like her extra freshness as well. This heifer comes next, real long-spined heifer, probably the longest hipped, longest heifer of this class, and real good about her neck as well. Just needed a little bit more body shape back into that flank, but a good heifer nonetheless. Congratulations, that's a really nice class.
Well, congratulations in Class 6. Your champion late spring yearling will go to Braylon Schaefer of Hagerstown, Indiana, with BMW Ace 2 409 JET. Second place in reserve in that class will go to Kennedy Lockhart with WSCC Hennessy 87 JET. Third place in that class was exhibited by Charlie Joy Holt. And fourth place, congratulations to Jay Paxton. We'll now bring in Class 7. These will be Key Angus females born in March of 2021.
Really nice single entry here. It could certainly withstand some more competition. She strikes you initially coming in the ring, not only just from a look and balance and proportionality, but take her to the ground. The basics are there. She's big-footed. She's sound-structured. She's awesome in terms of her hip and her hind leg. She reaches so flawlessly at the surface. Yeah, get her on the standstill, get in front of her. There's some actual width and some spread in terms of her body shape. She's got some natural power working out of the back of her shoulder and drops that down into a beautiful body. She's real fresh in terms of her chest, her neck, her head. Everything balances very nice. This is a good heifer to win this division.
Well, congratulations in Class 7. This will be your champion early spring yearling female. Going to back number 7022, BMW Ace 2 325 JET, exhibited by Samantha Van Voris, Bowling Green, Ohio. We'll now look to see Class 8 Key Angus females born February of 2021. This will be your final class here in our Key Angus Junior Show.
Well, the heat just keeps coming in these single entry divisions, and this one just screams cow. In maternal function, she's awesome in her body shape. She's shaking down a good udder as she gets to become go into the real world here soon. Take her to the ground. She too is so sound structured and big footed, really good in terms of her sweep from her forerib back into her flank. Getting behind her, there's a lot of female here in terms of her turn and her shape and her curvature of her body back out through her hip. You know, when you get her in motion, she steps good and her hip stays square, which is hard to do. You know, maybe just a dab of chest, but I'm not going to be too critical because from that point up, she's so fresh about her head and her neck and her shoulder. It's a really nice female. This division or this champion drive is about to get real good.
Well, congratulations in our final division, your champion junior yearling. We'll go to back number 7023, HIGG Allure 107J, exhibited by Rob Oakley. At this time, we're going to bring in all of your firsts and seconds, and our judge is going to select her grand and reserve grand champion, Key Angus female, here in your junior show at the Cattlemen's Congress. Well, as they're entering the ring, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and thank our judge of our junior show and your Key Angus females, Ms. Kendall Wrightson of Kersey, Colorado.
Just a tremendous show, and maybe not huge in numbers, but I'm telling you, the quality of this Key Angus, these division winners and reserves are awfully, awfully good. And maybe I'm taking just a little longer for my decision, but you breeders, you kids, everyone getting these things put together, hats off, because this is not an easy decision. There's a few different ways you could go, and that's just a testament to how high quality these Key Angus cattle are. And, I am going to go through and just talk little things about each one of them. I think they deserve it because, this heifer out of the first division is striking about her front end quality. She's good down her top line. She's square out of her hip structure. Maybe need to loosen her up out of her rear leg placement, but that's a good heifer. A heifer that came out of Division 2 is got a real bright future. I love this thing at the surface in terms of her skeleton. Her structure reads long-term as she goes through maturity. She's fresh, she's youthful, she's good about her head, her neck, and her chest. Body shape is spot on. That's a very, very good female Division 2. Division 3 out here, real powerful. She's moderate, she's real dimensional in terms of her body shape, out of her hip structure. She's good about her head and her neck. Like I mentioned in class, maybe just intensify her at the surface in terms of her rear foot and her placement there, but certainly a lot of potential in that female as well. We move on back to the young ladies heifer that came out of a division that certainly could have had a little bit more competition, because this is a good heifer. She's very fresh and good about her chest floor in relation to her flank. Her hip is real long, and that allows her to step and reach so good out of her rear skeleton. She's good about her top line. Her body shape from the side is awesome as well. Maybe not quite as powerful as a couple out here, but that's a very good female, that particular division. One coming next, very powerful, very moderate. Maybe runs out of the extras from the side in terms of balance, but certainly going to be deemed a functional cow. And then we work back to these last three big breds, and I'll be just completely honest, it's real close between these three. I'm going to describe them to you how I see them. The young man's heifer here is so good from the side. Her body shape, her sweep from her full rib back into her midrib, back into her rear and flank is almost picture perfect when he gets her stopped and set up. I love her skeleton. I love her hip and her hind leg. Maybe in comparison to the two behind her, there's not quite as much just genuine power or spread when you get right in behind her. But like I said, in her division, she doesn't lack it, all right? It's just in comparison, she's not quite as stout, not quite as powerful. Her silhouette from the side is breathtaking. She's fresh about her head and her neck, her chest, and how it sits back into her flank. That's an awfully nice heifer. Heifer that comes out of the division right behind her, just striking. Her balance, her presentation, her body shape, her power. Take her to the ground. She's big-footed. She's sound-structured. They've kept her extremely fresh for a big heifer here. In terms of her chest, her shoulder, in comparison to the one I'm about to talk, is just a little smoother in how it sits in her. Her knee sets a little squarer up front. I really like this heifer's power. You get in behind her, there's a lot of female there in terms of her spread out of her shoulder into her spine and out through her hip. Maybe not quite as just swoopy-bellied as the one I'm about to talk, but she still has plenty. She's real good from her full rib back into her rear and flank. It's a nice heifer. And then with the one we just talked in our last division, just screams maternal function and cow. She's awesome in terms of her body shape. She's shaking down a good udder. She's sound structured. She's big-footed, good down her top line. I like her neck and her head. Maybe just a little dab of chest, and when we get her out here, has just a little more shoulder than maybe ideal, but by no means is it causing a big issue. This heifer is awesome in terms of her body shape. Just her ability to stay that fresh and that comfortable for being a big bred's impressive. A few little details there. This is an awesome lineup of cattle. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow as well, but I want to thank you guys for having me. The Key Angus breed holds a very special place in my heart, so thank you breeders, thank you kids, and everyone for getting these things dialed in. Ringside, let's go ahead and put your hands together for all these exhibitors. We'll get you a pair of champions.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion, Key Angus female here in our junior show. Coming out of Class 7, Samantha Van Voris, Bowling Green, Ohio, with BMW Ace 2 325 JET. And congratulations, reserve champion coming out of Class 8 in your final division, your champion junior yearling, Rob Oakley with HIGG Allure 107J. Congratulations once again to those exhibitors. A special thank you to our judge, Kendall Reitzenstein. We will now get started over here in Ring 1 with your open Key Angus female show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we have our judge over here in ring 1. We'll get started with your open Angus female show here in just a moment. We'll get started with Class 1 Angus heifers born May of 2022. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started over here in your Angus ring. This will be your open female show. We're excited to welcome Mr. Brandon Callis of Minco, Oklahoma. And over here in ring 2, we are going to get started with your Aberdeen show. We'll be starting with your junior breeding heifers. We're excited to welcome your judge, Miss Macy Goretzka of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Macy is the assistant livestock judging coach and master's student at OSU. She got her associates from Redlands Community College and bachelor's and master's degree at OSU. She grew up raising and showing cattle with her family. She went on to judge then at Redlands Community College, then continued livestock judging career at OSU, where she was a member of the 2021 national champion team and recently helped coach the 2022 national champions. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome our judge over here in ring 2, Miss Macy Goretzka.
Well, as we get started, I just want to say thank you to having me come out and judge today. I've really been looking forward to it. We've got a nice single entry to start us off. The young lady, whenever she gets her heifer set up from the profile and she wants to cooperate with her, I think she's got a look of quality, refinement up front. She's got some good pieces to go on down the road. If you're going to nitpick on her, you could probably just relax her a little bit in the angle of her shoulder, but she's not really convinced that she wants to be a show heifer yet. She'll settle down as she continues to get a little bit older. Let's go ahead and congratulate her. Great way to kick us off.
Well, congratulations in Class 1A, summer percentage and purebred heifer calves. First place will go to DCS Crackle 10K, exhibited by Ava Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now look to see Class 1B. These will be summer percentage and purebred heifer calves born May of 2022.
Here on our Key Angus side, a really good way to kick off the show. I think two nice, promising heifer calves, but I think the one up front still a pretty solid decision and one to go with. Again, her look of quality, her presence and outline, you really, really enjoy the study. Her body shape, I like. Still one that's fresh and youthful enough, but yet I like the bulk and density she carries there through her rib cage and her upper hip there. If you're going to be critical of that female at all, and for some people it's not a problem, I'd square her up from behind ever so slightly as she goes, but still a loose, limber one that does a lot of good, got a bright future. I like the heifer here in second. She probably does correct the faults of your class winner as far as just a little square moving from behind. Again, she's bold centered as well and neat looking, probably just a little more off in her hip, maybe just not the same kind of body mass and volume we find in that class winner. But a good pair of females to get us kicked off.
Another nice single entry here in this May class. I think a heifer that's good in terms of her moderation, her body type, one that when she sets up, I still think has some extension up front. If you're going to pick on her, she probably wants to drop just a little bit out of her pin set, get just a little straighter in the set to her hock, so we could reconstruct her a little bit in the way she gets out and utilizes her hip and hind leg. But in terms of her body type, her moderation, I think she's got a lot of upside for this young man. Congratulations, another good single entry.
Well, congratulations over here in the Key Angus ring, your champion summer heifer calf. Go to back number 7202, ECAX Ava 293K, exhibited by Gemma Emberson. Second place in reserve in that division, exhibited by Tatum Miller of Big Spring, Texas. We're now going to bring in Class 2. These will be Key Angus heifers born March of 2022. Back over in the Aberdeen ring, results from Class 1B. First place went to back number 101, CLT Miss Red Perf 01K, exhibited by Patterson Family Farm in Findlay, Ohio.
Well, we bring our first two class winners. They are both single entries back out here. I think a good first division that we've got. I think both of these heifers have a lot of upside for these two young people. Probably could pick on both of them, and we talked about them in class just in terms of their structure a little bit. I think between them, in my mind, there's one that probably just has a little more substance, a little more body, and then even probably matches that with a little more substance of foot and bone at the ground as well. Young man out of the second class will be your champion. Young lady up front will be reserved. Congratulate both of them. Good division.
Well, congratulations in our first division over here in your Aberdeen ring. Your champion heifer calf coming out of Class 1B. Congratulations goes to Patterson Family Farm, Findlay, Ohio, with CLT Miss Red Perf 01K. And second in reserve in that division is going to come out of Class 101A. Congratulations, Ava Summers, Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now bring in Class 1C. These would be late spring percentage and purebred heifer calves born April of 2022.
A nice heifer that I really like, I think specifically from her shoulder back. I think her body type, the depth to her rib, I think of the we've seen so far, she probably is just the most comfortable in terms of her build, her lower joint work, the way she handles herself in motion. I think if you're going to nitpick her, just from her shoulder forward, she's got a little more leather. She could be just a little neater and a little more refined there about her head and the bottom side of her neck. But from there back, I like her just in terms of her body type being the most comfortable that we've seen yet. In terms of her structure, a good single entry. Congratulations to him.
Well, congratulations over here in Ring 2 in your Aberdeen ring. First place in Class 1C. We'll go to back number 102, DCS Kuna 3K, exhibited by Connor Summers, Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now look to see Class 1D. These will be spring percentage and purebred heifer calves born March of 2022.
I think a nice trio that we've got, and I'm pretty comfortable with the way they line up. The heifer that's going to go ahead and lead off, I think when the young lady gets her parked and set up from the profile, she's the one that probably hits you the hardest just in terms of her presence out here, the way she ties her neck out of the top side of her shoulder, her presence and balance from the side. I think is the most attractive out here. If you're going to pick on her, she needs to be just a little more laid back in the angle of her knee and her shoulder. But I think we could probably pick a little bit on all three of them. I like her quality, her presence, her femininity to go ahead and lead us off. The heifer in second, if you start at the ground, may have the most just in terms of substance, foot and bone. I like that about her. She's just kind of wanting to fight the halter at times. She gets just a little rounder out of her hip comparative to the heifers on either side of her. She's probably just a little more conservative in terms of her size as well. So we could change some balance things as well to make her just a little more unique out here. The heifer that's going to be third, when you get in behind her, is probably actually the thickest and the boldest in the turn to her rib. I really like that. Whenever you get up on top of her, she's got a little more substance. It's just from the side. We need to soften her back into her flank. The way she transitions from the base of her chest back up into her flank. We just need to correct her a little bit in terms of her balance, correct her attitude too, so that young man can get her shown, but he's doing a good job sticking with it. Let's go ahead and congratulate all three of those exhibitors on a nice class.
Very, very good class, a very deep and competitive class all the way through as you study through these. And these top two obviously probably have a few more advantages and not just performance, but just the way they're built and put together. And so there's some trade-offs on these two as you go back and forth. And I do understand we show in this surface several times a year. This is the most unforgiving surface in America, if you ask me. And so if you don't have one that's right at the ground, it gets a little harmful for you, and that's where this one leads off this class. She's so much bigger and better in terms of foot quality and shape. I think because of that, the longer we walk these girls out here, the looser that one becomes, the more loose she is in terms of the way she engages and goes and reaches. Her shoulder lays back, her knee parks in there correctly. I like her look. Does she have the extra width that I'm usually accustomed to just falling in love with? No, but you get up in front of that one and study true chest width. We can't call that one a narrow bovine by any manner as well. But boy, I love that one's movement, the way she sits down, and that's what gets this one in trouble for me. If this one moves any looser, any better, particularly up front, I switch those two because that's my kind of body shape, that's my kind of hip and power I love to see in them. I love that one's heaviness of bone and structure there, and then still comes together with a very, very quality look. More we're out here, the more she starts to fight things, the worse it becomes. She wants to search up front just a little more. She was starting to drive and go just a little outside herself off of her rear skeleton. That's an awfully nice pair of cattle, though. Heifer run here next and third, just ran into an incredible pair. Love the softness of her body. Still one is very extremely attractive there, the front part of her as well. We can lengthen out of her hip and set her down in her spine, and she's on the go ever so slightly, but boy, he does a good job pulling her together, getting her right there. Just a real cowy individual here that rolls around next. I love her extra width and shape. Her boldness is good. Just wish she had the bone and foot to match everything she's got up high to really throw her balance together. At times, she looks just a little more vertical there in her knee and shoulder. This is the green one here that closes our class. Smooth made. She's neat to look at there as well. Just today, she's just a little more behind in terms of body volume and softness relative to contemporaries. Probably structurally, there's a thing or two she does just a little better than the ones in front of her, but I like to open her up, and she too moved just a little more coordinated off of her rear too. But very, very deep, very competitive class. Nice pair up top.
Gonna leave these two the way they came in, and I think you just need to get them lined up that way. The young ladies that's going to lead off, I think whenever you get in behind them, she's the one that's easily just a little more powerful in the turn right behind her shoulder. She comes back wider to her upper hip and pin set, and she's got more true shape and just muscularity. And I think for being the stouter, bolder made heifer, she's actually the one that's also a little more comfortable, a little more correct in her lower joint work. And so I think from her shoulder back. I think that's a very nice individual. If you're going to pick on her, she needs to be just a little more refined, a little more feminine up front, especially about the top side of her neck. She's getting just a little bit cresty there, but it kind of matches her shape and substance from there back. The heifer that's going to be second probably does have a bit of that advantage just in terms of the top side of her neck, her refinement. When you get in behind her, though, she's just a little flatter and just a little narrower from behind. And then she, too, needs to be a little more relaxed in the angle of her shoulder and front end and just a little more comfortable off either end. A nice pair there, really nice class winner. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations back over here in the Aberdeen ring. Results of your last two classes. Class 1D, first place exhibited by Rhiannon Nickel of Mount Oklahoma. Second place exhibited by Rhett Nickel. And third place was exhibited by Wyatt Brock. In Class 1E, first place and congratulations went to Miranda Morgan of Morgan, Utah. And second place in that class was exhibited by Sullins Ranch of Mount Oklahoma. We'll now bring in your first and seconds, and our judge will select your champion and reserve in this division. Back over in your Key Angus ring, results from Class 2 in your late junior heifer calf division. Your champion will go to Braylon Schaefer with BMW Ace 2 101 KET. Reserve champion in that division will go to Luke Jennings of Felicity, Ohio with BMW Ace 2 100 KET. Third place in that class was exhibited by Rex Harrison. Fourth place exhibited by Holt Cattle Company, and fifth place, and congratulations to Justin Holt Cattle. Now in ring one, we have Class 3. These are Key Angus heifers born February of 2022.
Got an interesting pair here, and you're going to leave them like they came in. The one we're going to lead off with, just quite a bit stouter and more opened up. I prefer her more moderate frame of the two as well in terms of just proportion and how everything fits together. Beautiful from the side there. Not perfect in her structure. You lay her back at her knee. She's just a little awkward set to rear leg as she goes, but although she's not as correct as I like her, to me she still utilizes her structure in a more comfortable manner, though, than the one we are going to put second. Putting second here, deep sided, really smooth made, and got the really long extended front end. Just gives you a lot of female quality and character to her as you study her. Still has some bone there. Just when you get in behind her, for me personally, I like to open her up. I want to see her just a little looser, more engaging as she gets on the go. She gets just a little tighter and shorter to her step. But again, good pair here in this class and division.
Well, congratulations in your early junior heifer calf division. Champion will go to back number 7213, LLW, Card Caroline's Channel 536K, exhibited by Tatum Miller of Big Spring, Texas. And second place in reserve in that division will go to BMW Why Not 206K, exhibited by Kevin Hesser of Leesburg, Indiana. We'll now bring in Class 4. These will be Key Angus heifers born November of 2021.
Got another quality heifer here in our Key Angus show. A single entry, a lot of body volume and just broodiness to this particular female. Awesome in her rib cage and the way she reads. Still one that lays her muscle onto her skeleton in a pretty positive and feminine manner there as well. And then you get her from the side. I still think her head and neck come out of the top of her blades in an attractive enough manner. Still sets down on her feet and legs pretty good here as well. Maybe just a touch plainer up front, if you will, but still a nice kind of cattle here represent this class.
Well, congratulations in Class 4. Your champion senior heifer calf goes to GOP Judy Garland, 114J, exhibited by Kennedy Evans of Campbellsburg, Kentucky. We'll now look to see your next class over here in Ring 1. This will be Class 5, Key Angus heifers born April of 2021.
three nice class winners that we have out here for this spring division, and I think each of them have some things that I like about them. They're just a little bit different in terms of their type and kind, so we'll run through them real quickly, and I'll let you know what I think. The heifer that comes out of the first class, I think in terms of her build and her lower joint work, she's one of the most comfortable that we've seen. I think her depth of body is really good. If you get in behind her, maybe comparative to another one that's out here, she's not quite as bold in the spring to her rib and probably doesn't have quite as much substance, but I still think that heifer has got some quality. Heifer out of the second class, one that's got some extension up front, I really like that about her. She probably gets just a little out-horsed by the cattle on either side of her, plus we need to relax her just a little bit in the angle of her shoulder and her front end. I think of all three that we've out here, we could probably pick on her structure the most, and then she also gives up just quite a bit in terms of substance. Heifer out of the last class, I think whenever you have a rear three-quarter view, this female is where you really like her, because I think of the lineup, she the most impressive just in terms of the boldness of her rib, the substance and power that she has, and yet to be the most powerful and have the most substance, I still think she's probably the most comfortable just in terms of her lower joint work. We picked on her in class, and she gets a little thicker about the top side of her neck, and she's not the most feminine there, but I think she matches it from there back. So that's what I see between these three cattle. I think the one that best suits me just combines some unique things in terms of substance and power, still being really good in terms of her lower joint work. Young lady out of the last class will be your champion.
Well, congratulations over here in the Aberdeen ring. Your champion in our heifer calf division, your junior heifer calf division, coming out of Class 1E. Congratulations to Miranda Morgan of Morgan, Utah.
Bring in that second place, and I certainly don't think that she takes away anything in terms of quality and having some presence out here. I think the one for me, though, that probably best follows up our champion in this division in terms of her build, her structure, her body type, young man out of that first class will be reserve.
And congratulations, your reserve champion, junior heifer calf, coming out of Class 1C, exhibited by Connor Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now look for Class 1F. These will be senior percentage and purebred heifer calves, born September to October of 2021.
Another good class and a neat heifer here that leads off. She's one that's a little deceiving, I'll be honest. So you get to the side of this one, and she's so smooth in the way everything blends together from her shoulder there into her rib cage and out through her hip, and the levelness and length of her. You get in behind her, maybe not expect one to walk as wide. That's probably the most correctly structured one, at least from behind, from hip to hock to ground, the squareness that she carries. And that was a surprise but pleasing to me as we got back there and studied that one. Still sets them down on her feet and legs in a smooth way. Got a real cowy look, but yet there's still some cow potential and power when you get in behind that. Nice heifer here leads off. You can debate back and forth with the next two. I just think this one's front skeleton probably, and the fact that she's just a shade leaner probably helps her in terms of movement. Neck set's good, body shape's good. She's got plenty of power. I like to modify her hind leg just a shade there as well and set it down differently, but still a good heifer. This one parked on the standstill. You can move her up a notch pretty quickly. I love the levelness. One that's chock full of power and stoutness, and she's really, really robust. Just one I like to lean up a little bit, and maybe more so her front skeleton wants to give her a few more problems, get a little aggressive in terms of how wide she gets off those two. Heifer here probably just needs more body, if we're just being honest. I think structurally, looseness, she's better probably than the next two in terms of comfort of movement. Just gives up a little much in terms of just true body and power and just body volume relative to those two ahead of her. But again, 4 nice heifers there in that class.
Just a single entry here in this division, and young lady does a great job getting this heifer shown. I really like her in terms of moderation. I think she's got some substance of body and some depth to her, so I can really appreciate that about her. Gonna pick on her, it's probably just in terms of her balance. She just gets a little thrown off in terms of her front end, the way she comes out of her hips. She's just a little bit rounder off either end. We could change some things. I think that would make her hit you just a little bit harder from the profile, but she's doing a great job. Let's give her a round of applause.
Well, congratulations over in the Aberdeen ring. Your senior heifer calf champion coming out of class 01F, my apologies. Back number 108, TCS Breeze 1D44J, exhibited by Ava Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. Back over in the Key Angus ring, results from class 5. Your champion late spring yearling female, exhibited by Braylon Schaefer of Hagerstown, Indiana, with BMW Ace 20409 JUT. Reserve champion, congratulations to Charlie Joy Holt of Aberdeen, South Dakota. 3rd place in that class, exhibited by Kennedy Lockhart. And 4th place will go to Jay Paxton, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Another quality single entry we bring here, and again, a really cool presence about this female, extra body volume to her there as well. Her head and neck sets in there the right way, still has some dimension when you get in there up high on there, and again, comes together very well. She wanting to fight it just a little bit, and so it's hard to read what she really truly does in her spine, so we'll make a better evaluation on that when we bring her back in, but still, that's a neat heifer here to represent this class.
Well, congratulations over here in the Key Angus ring. Results of your early spring yearling division. Your champion, and congratulations, Samantha Van Voris, Bowling Green, Ohio, with BMW Ace 2325 JET.
You can get just a little bit better of a read on this heifer while the young man's got her stopped and parked there from the profile. I think whenever she does cooperate and pull herself together, she's got a look of balance there about her, and I really like that. I think if you get in behind her as well, she's got some substance and turn to her rib. She's good in the depth back into her flank, so whenever she does settle down into herself and set up there from the side, I think that heifer's got some good pieces. Now in motion, she kind of wants to drop out of her front end and get just a little more rock forward in her shoulder, and she's maybe even just a little more open and not the smoothest about it, but I still like her boldness of rib and body type from there back. Young man's doing a great job.
Well, congratulations over here in ring 2. Your champion summer yearling percentage and purebred female coming out of class 1G. Goes to back number 109, DCS Jill 12J, exhibited by Wyatt Brock of Spring Hill, Kansas. We'll now bring in class 1H. These will be spring yearling purebred and percentage heifers born March, April of 2021.
Another quality individual here that enters the ring. Love just a lot of things about this one in terms of just that look and ladylike appearance up front, but yet that one obviously has the advantage of being farther along, but there's still some width and some substance to this particular female. Love the udder design and what's starting to develop there. I still like for being as far along as she is. She's still limber and loose and still reaches her front step like she needs to. Another nice heifer here. We'll continue to critique on maybe just a little more in our lineup here, but nice heifer here to represent this class and division.
Well, congratulations over in the Key Angus ring. Out of your final division, your champion junior yearling will go to HIGG Allure 107J, exhibited by Rob Oakley of Livingston, Tennessee. At this time, we'll bring in all of those first and seconds out of your divisions here in our Key Angus show. And our judge, Mr. Brandon Callis, will be selecting his Grand and Reserve Grand Champion Key Angus females.
A really nice spring yearling that comes in and probably makes the heat just go up a little bit. I think in terms of her presence and quality, she's maybe one of the best that we've seen so far. Young man's done a great job getting this heifer presented today. I like her in terms of her look and presence up front. I think the way her neck ties to the top side of her shoulder and then the turn right out of the back side of it and the substance and dimension that she has is really good. She matches that at the ground too with the right kind of foot and bone. I think when you study her from the side, I don't think that you can necessarily call her shallower back into her flank. She's maybe just got a touch more a chest down there in the base of it, and I think that's probably what at times you could change a little bit in her look from the side, but that's being critical because I still think she's got a ton of quality. Standing still, her hip and hind leg reads good. In motion, she gets just a nickel extra set to her hock, but she's still functional. She still gets out and goes, and so I'm just telling you a couple little things that we could change and still a really high quality female. Congratulations to him.
Well, congratulations over here in the Aberdeen ring. Results of Class 1H. First place, go to back number 110, ILC Jenny 17J, exhibited by Benjamin Burling of Gardner, Kansas. We'll now look to see Class 1I before we finish our junior percentage and purebred female show over here in the Aberdeen ring. Back over in the Key Angus ring, if we could please put our hands together for all of our division champion reserves here in your open Key Angus show. Also a big round of applause for our judge, Mr. Brandon Callis, Minco, Oklahoma.
This heifer is just tremendous in terms of her rib and body type. Just reads very, very maternal and broody in that regard. Great in the way she transitions and sweeps back into her rear rib and flank. I think if you're going to pick on her, I think especially in motion, she gets just a little more rock forward. She doesn't move out of her front end quite like you'd like to see her, and then because of it, she wants to come up in her spine, dish a bit in her loin, and then if you get in behind her, she wants to swing those back to right outside of herself. So we could change her just a little bit in motion and make her maintain her balance just a little bit better. But I think that's one that you've just got to appreciate in terms of maternal look and rib and body type. Congratulations to him. Another good single entry.
Boy, this is a heck of a set of Key Angus cattle here. Obviously not as big of a show, but I challenge one to be as stout on the top end is what this is all the way through. That was a good way to start with this calf. She's neat. I think the sky's the limit with that one. That kind of look, that kind of presence. Yet her body shape's right, her hip and skeleton still set down in a very correct way. Like I said, for me personally, you open that one up at the ground just a shade, but that one can continue to do that as we continue to feed her on and go. There's a lot to like about that one. That pair that came out of that next class, again, liked them quite well. I think both of them just still have a lot of promise. Just depends, I guess, on maybe how they're acting and what things are going on as far as how they move and go. We can call that one on the other side probably good enough and justified, but I do love just the foot quality and excellence in which and looseness in which this one moves. Really, really neat up there through her hip neck, her neck posture there as well. Another stouty that comes out of this next division, opens up well, bold in her body, neat up front. Just wanted to change your hind leg once again. One that came out of this next class division was a single. Awesome cow look to this one in terms of just boldness and smoothness and softness is very good. Very broody, very practical, but yet there's still some show element and feature to her as she sets her head and neck there. Again, probably if you're going to just really get down to it and try to compare these things, you like to maybe modify her hip just a shade and change her right there up front in terms of her chest, in terms of the company that she's in, but that one's still deserving out here. And so I'll be honest, it's these three and the rest of them, if you really get down to it, for me, it's hard to make breds and keep them in the rig and condition that we've kept these three and still keep some movement and some flexibility in it there as well. And so that's where my priorities are going to lie this time. This one here right in front of me, again, a lot to like from this vantage point right here. So smooth, so neat, so put together very, very well. And again, when you get in behind her, that one still moves and travels with some squareness. Now we have some more company here to really break her down into. She is truly bold and open up in terms of extra boldness, probably not, but if you call that one enough, that one's silhouette, that one's smoothness and posture really gets you going pretty quickly. This one right here behind her probably has the benefit of the big fresh hair coat, and that don't hurt things, but just a little stouter featured look to her of these three, and still one I think that's plenty pretty enough when you get to looking at her. She's got some hip up high when you study her boldness. As you probably study these three and go from their hip to the ground, she's probably the one I want to square up out of her hock and just make her go just a little more correctly right there from behind. She can come in there ever so slightly there, but again, that's a nice bovine with a high quality look and presentation to her, and I still think she's in the mix quite solidly. The big bred here, again, sometimes these bigger breds are harder to read because they'll get a little soft back. This isn't one of them. Boy, awesome in her body shape and still the look of freshness that she has. One that still has some stoutness to her there as well. You know, you could lengthen out of her hip probably just a touch. Probably where I love this female, and I'm one that likes to study these cattle from a three-quarter view. You get to the front three-quarter of this one, that's a tank in the way she opens up with squareness, but yet she lays her shoulder into her the right way. She's got a stout head, but yet it's maternal, and to me, the rest of her body reads the same. That's a stout, functional animal, still very maternal in what she does. Heavy bred with a good udder, still handling herself very, very well. So there's a lot of ways you can go out here. There's probably two of them that mirror each other a touch more, and then one of them just a touch more my speed in terms of extra power and width. So let's give all these folks a big round of applause. Awesome set of Key Angus females.
And congratulations, your grand champion, Key Angus female here in our open show. Coming out of that final division, congratulations, Rob Oakley of Livingston, Tennessee, with HIGG Allure 107J.
Well, we bring these two heifers out here for this division, and they're a little bit different in terms of their type and kind. We talked about them in class, but I'll touch on them just a little bit before we select your champion in reserve. The young man up front out of the first class, we talked about her just in terms of her quality and presence, her presentation too. I think one of the best that we've seen so far. When she gets stopped and parked from the profile, I really like her look about balance that she has. Her return to her rib and body type is very good too. I think she matches that with the advantage probably in just substance of foot and bone work. We picked on her. I think that even though everything fits together, she's got a little bit down at the base of her chest. She could be just a little bit neater there. And even though standing still, her angles all read pretty good. In motion, she gets just a little extra set to her hind leg. Even though I think she could be a little more correct in the set to her hind leg, I think between the two of them, I probably prefer her structure. I think it's just a little more correct, and I think it allows her to better maintain her balance in motion. Young man's heifer out of the second class, one that is just moderate, broody, just looks like she's got a lot of brood cow potential as she goes on. I really like her body type, the sweep back to her rear rib and flank. I think with that, when you really study her in motion specifically, is where things get probably just a little more spread. I think we need to change her in the way she moves out of her front end, make her top line stay in her a little bit better, and keep her squared up from behind as well. But like I said, moderation, body type, really, really good in her. So I think it's probably obvious which one hits me just a little bit harder. Young man up front's going to be champion. Young man right behind him will be reserve.
Well, congratulations. You're champion in that division. We'll come out of Class 1H. Congratulations to Benjamin Burling of Gardner, Kansas, and reserve champion coming out of Class 1I, Connor Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. We're now going to bring in all of those division champion and reserves, and our judge is going to select her grand and reserve grand champion female. Over here in ring one, we are going to take a brief photo break at the backdrop. We'll return back with your Key Angus Bull Show. Back over in the Key Angus female ring, your reserve grand champion was exhibited by Braylon Schaefer, Hagerstown, Indiana.
Well, we've got a great lineup out here for our percentage grand drive, and I think these cattle are just a little different as we go through, and I want to talk about each of them just a little bit. We'll start with the young man up front, the red and white heifer. I think even though she's obviously the greenest one out here, I think she's got some quality and some good pieces. She's extended. She's got some refinement about her neck up front. I think her body type, the lower part of it is good. She's got some substance substance of foot and bone too. And so there's a few things I really like about her. We picked on her a little bit in division there and in her class. She wants to drop out of her pin set, get a little straighter in the set to her hock, and maybe comparative whenever you get in behind her. She's probably not just quite as shapely or bold in the upper turn to her rib and doesn't have quite as much shape comparative to some of the other heifers that we'll talk about, but I think she's got some upside for him. Heifer out of the second division, I think when you get to her rear three-quarter, she is very, very impressive to me, just in terms of her boldness, her shape. She gets bigger out of her upper hip and pin set and has some dimension to her lower quarter, so I really like a female that can have some extra substance, and I still think she's functional in terms of her structure. I think it's probably no surprise she's just a little crestier about the top side of her neck, and that's her downfall, and that's where you can pick on her is up front. She needs to be just a little more feminine in terms of her head and neck, and so we could change her there. But like I said a couple times before, I think she really matches it from there back. Young lady out of the third division, we talked about her heifer, just in terms of her body type, having some depth back into her flank. I like that about her. There's some things that we could change just in terms of her balance. She's just a little lazier out here. She doesn't want to tie her neck to quite as high to the top side of her shoulder, and then she gets rounder out of her hip too. So we could probably elevate her a little bit off either end of her structure, and I think that would probably make her hit you just a little bit harder. When the young man's heifer came in her class, in division, she was really not wanting to cooperate with him, and so she probably didn't give me the best first impression, but when she settles into herself, I think that heifer's got a nice look. I think she's got some substance and dimension to her. She's got a little bit of base of chest, but I think when you see her in motion, she probably wants to drop out just a little bit up front and get just a little rounder out of her hip. But I think stopped and collected from the profile, that's probably one of the better looking heifers that we've got out here. Young man's out of the last division. We talked about her when she came in, probably upped things just a little bit in terms of quality and presence. He's done a great job getting this heifer presented today. I like her look up front, the turn to her rib, just her proportions all fit together really nicely. We picked on her just having a little bit in the base of her chest. She could be just a little bit neater there, and she gets a little extra set to her hind legs, specifically on that rear left too. Sometimes she wants to favor it just a little bit more, but I still think that she's plenty functional in terms of her build, and comparative to some of the other ones, maintains her balance plenty good whenever he gets her out and circles her around. So that's the differences between the cattle. I think even though there's some differences in terms of type and kind, and we didn't have the most numbers, there's some good ones out here. I'm going to put this down, take one more look at them. We'll get you a champion reserve, but we need to congratulate all these young exhibitors. It's been a great show.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion in our junior show for your percentage, Aberdeen, coming out of Class 1H. Congratulations will go to Benjamin Burling, Gardner, Kansas, with ILC Jenny 17J. And congratulations, your reserve champion will go to Miranda Morgan of Morgan, Utah with ILC Kokomo 3K. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We will start our full blood show here in just a moment.
Well, just a single entry here in this division to get us started in our full blood show. One that I think if you start at the ground, I really like her in terms of her substance of foot, substance of bone. I think that heifer has got some shape and some power as well. She probably gets just a little bit rounder off either end, just a little plainer in terms of her look up front, little rounder out of her hip, but I like her substance and her power that she has. Congratulations to her. Good way to start us off. Just another single entry here in this division, and I think a heifer that's probably got just a little more look and presence up front, especially comparative to the first one that we've seen. I like her head and her neck, the way she comes out of the top side of it. She's got some look and presence up front. I think if you're going to pick on her standing still from the side, she could probably be just a little bit deeper back into her flank. I think that would probably correct her balance just a little bit. And then in motion, she's probably just a little too tight and rigid in the way she gets out and utilizes her hip and hind leg. So we could relax her there, soften her in the rear part of her rib. I think that'll make her balance up a little bit better. But a nice single entry. Congratulations. You know, if we could just study this heifer standing still, I think there's a lot of things to really like about her, because when she gets her collected, I think she balances pretty well from the side. Now, she's not the most just extended or the neatest up front, but I still think she's probably one of the most refined that we've seen about the top side of her neck, and then from there back, she's got some shape and some turn to her rib and some substance. So I like a few different things about her. I think her biggest downfall is probably when she gets into motion. She's just a little more hesitant, a little more rigid, and the young lady does a good job being aware of that, keeping her going at a pretty slow pace, but she needs to set down just a little more comfortable, specifically out of her hind leg at the ground in her pasterns there. But I think a heifer that I like for some different pieces. Congratulations to her. Another nice single entry that we've got here in this division. I like this heifer in terms of her rib and her body type. Honestly, she's pretty smooth about the way she comes into her shoulder and still has some boldness and some turn right behind it. So I like the way that she transitions there from her shoulder back into her forerib. She could probably be just a little bit deeper back into her flank, and in motion too. She can be just a little more comfortable the way she utilizes her hip and hind leg, give her just a little more set and flex to her lower joint work, but I still think that heifer's got some presence up front and some boldness and substance to her. Another nice single entry. Congratulations.
Well, over here in ring one, we're about ready to get started with your Key Angus Bull Show. First class in the ring, Class 1, Key Angus Bulls, born May of 2022.
I think a really cool way to kick off this bull show. That's a neat one in terms of just his look, his posture, but yet body volume still really good. Feet and leg design, the way he lays that down is still really good. Again, for that age and size, very good testicular development as well. So really a neat way to kick off this bull show.
Well, congratulations over here in the Key Angus ring. Results out of Class 1, first place, exhibited by Kennedy and Brooke Evans of Campbellsburg, Kentucky, with GOP knockout 211K. Well, now bringing Class 2, these be Key Angus Bulls, born March of 2022.
I'm going to leave these two heifers the way that they came in. Honestly, they're a little bit similar in their type and kind, and probably the areas that you want to change them. They're probably both just a little heavier in terms of their condition, and they're not the neatest fronted cattle. They could be just a little more refined and a little more feminine up front. I think for me, between the two of them, if you start at the ground, especially on the heifer that we're going to start off with, I probably like the shape of her feet and her toes just a little bit better. I think she's a little more correct down low. Even though she wants to roll out of her hip and drop her pin set a little bit, I think that she probably is just a little bit of the advantage in terms of movement and the way she handles herself. We could pick on both of them, but I just think in terms of starting at the ground, foot shape, toe, she's just a little more correct to me. I think the heifer in second is tremendous in terms of her rib and body type. She has got a ton of substance. She's pretty heavier in terms of her condition, and we could freshen her up in some areas. I think that that's probably evident when you get her in motion. She gets to swinging outside of herself, and so we could make her set down just a little square and be a little more comfortable, maintain her balance. And if you study her at the ground, she's just a little bit longer in her rear toes, and we could change her foot shape a little bit and make her a little more correct. A nice pair in that division, though. Congratulations.
Got another nice single entry here. Again, really masculine, robust bull, awesome in his body. Like his muscle type, he's wide, but yet he's smooth in the way that goes onto his body. Head and neck set are perched up there in a really high and neat manner. Maybe not the biggest bone to match all the mass he has up high, and that throws his balance off just a touch, but that's still a good bull. It's got a lot of good going for him.
Well, congratulations over in the Kiang's Bull Ring. First place in Class 2, and your champion early junior bull calf goes to back number 7228, MD Beyond the Ring, 780K, exhibited by Tatum Miller of Big Spring, Texas. Class 3 was a scratch. We'll bring in Class 4. Back over in the Aberdeen ring, we're going to bring those first and seconds in. Select the champion reserve, yearling full-blood heifer.
Good bovine here, single entry, just one that worlds of quality and look. And I still think as you study that bull, if you take away the big good presentation, there's just a lot of good and fundamental things that are there, but yet his quality and things he does in terms of width and thickness, but yet smoothness and attractiveness, yet he's still masculine-headed, good nutted bull that sets him down in an athletic manner. Nice bull here, leads off here in this class.
Well, congratulations over here in the Key Angus ring. Results out of your summer yearling division. Champion will go to BMW GCC Bucket List 520 JET, exhibited by Weingartner Show Cattle of Harrod, Ohio. We'll now bring in Class 5. These will be Key Angus bulls born March and April of 2021. We would like to also add over here in the Key Angus ring your champion summer yearling, owned by Weingartner Show Cattle, Griswold Cattle, and Van Voorhees Cattle. And currently over here in ring 2, we are going to select your grand and reserve grand champion, full blood female, here in your junior show.
Another really good pair of bulls we have here. Again, very masculine, very rugged individuals, but this guy up front there standing still, that's a heck of a bull in terms of just robustness, his body mass, his muscle, but yet he still has a neat feature there up front, way he sets up, his attractiveness. I don't always like to call bulls attractive, but that one's good to look at, but he's still a man as you get to study him all the way through. I can't tell if he's reacting to his nose bud not wanting to go, but he will step outside himself and be a little awkward on the move, and I like to change that about him, but boy, right there, that's a lot of good in that one bull. Still like this bull here we have here in second. You talk about one again, length and extension are awesome, but yet that one's still robust, and no, he doesn't have the big hair, but boy, his shape's still good, his body contour is still good there as well. Just probably not the extra body and width we find in this one, not the extra uniqueness of look that we find in this one. Probably does keep himself inside the frame of his body work just a little better, but at the same time probably has just a little excessive set to his hock, so you can give and take there as well. But really good pair of bulls, good big pair of bulls.
Well, congratulations in Class 5 in your junior yearling division. Your champion will go to Classic Genetics of Ardmore, Oklahoma, with Classic Qualified 564J. And reserve champion will go to Tyler Loudon of Creston, Iowa. We're now going to bring in your final class, the Key Angus Bulls over here in ring 1. This will be Class 6. Key Angus Bulls born May of 2020.
Well, we didn't have a lot of numbers here in our full blood show, but I think we've got some nice cattle out here. We'll go through them a little bit and break each one of them down a little bit quickly. The young lady out of the first division, we talked about that heifer just in terms of her body type, having some substance of foot and bone, having some shape. I think she's good. When you get her back out here and you compare her to the rest, she gets a little out horse. And then I think in terms of her balance, we said she's a little rounder off either end. She's a little plainer up front. She gets a little off behind her shoulder and wants to come up in her loin and round out of her hips. So we could change some things from the side to make her balance up a little bit better and probably be just a little more competitive out here. Young man out of the second division, I think that heifer has got some extension. She's got some presence up front. She probably is one of the neatest heifers that we've got out here, just about her head and her neck, the top side of it. I think from there back, she's probably just a little greener, a little harder in terms of her rear rib and flank. And then when she gets out into motion, she's a little more rigid too in the way she utilizes her hip and hind leg. We could relax her there. Heifer out of the third division, I think stopped and standing still. That's probably the one that of the 5 that we've got out here hits you the hardest, just in terms of the way she proportions. She's not the most extended or the neatest fronted, but I think everything fits together well in her, and she probably is just a little neater than some of the other heifers that we've got out here, but just in terms of the way she balances, I think she's one of the best. We picked on her in motion. She needs to be a little bit better in the way she utilizes her hip and hind leg and just get out a little more comfortable, but I like the way she pieces together, she balances, she's got some substance, so I think that heifer probably checks off a couple of boxes for me. The red heifer, a little bit different than some of the other ones. I think one that's got a little more extension, maybe comparative to the heifer, especially right behind her, ties her neck a little smoother into her shoulder. I think she's got some turn to her rib. We could relax her off either end of her build. She's a little straighter up front and just a little more tight in the way she utilizes both ends of her build. But I think in terms of presence and look, she does have some of that out here. Heifer out of the last division, I think one that's really impressive in terms of her substance, her body type. She just looks very, very maternal. You get to her rear 3/4, really good, and the turn to her rib, the sweep back into her flank. So I like those things about her. We picked on her in division, just in terms of having a little more condition, and I think in motion too. She wants to round out a little bit off either end. She could be just a little more correct in the way she maintains her balance, but just in terms of substance, broodiness, she's really, really impressive. So that's the way I read these 5 division winners. I think they're all a little bit different, and I was interested to see the way that they would shake out when we got them all back out here. Again, I just want to thank everybody. The shows have been really, really good, and I've really enjoyed myself. The kids have been great to work with, and everybody helping me has made it very smooth. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to take one more look at these 5, and we'll get you a champion in reserve, but we need to congratulate all these exhibitors. A really nice show.
Got a neat one and fun one to study and look at, and they got obviously a little higher percentage on the key side of things here. But boy, again, length, extension. I obviously vertical challenged as I am would have a hard time showing that bull. I can dang near look underneath him. But boy, I think this one's just kind of old school cool. If you ask me, I like still his muscle for as big and long of a bull as he is, and again, to ask him to perfectly meet his stride would be probably unfair, but that guy still gets and goes in a way with a bull that big, with that much growth and gets. I'm glad you brought him. That's a neat one to look at and study, and a fun one for me to look at out here. So let's give him a round of applause. Nice bull there.
Well, congratulations over here in ring 2, your grand champion full blood coming out of class 3B. Congratulations. UF Miss Wendy 58G 18J exhibited by Ella Patterson, Findlay, Ohio. And congratulations, your reserve champion coming out of that final class and division. Congratulations to Erica Patterson of Findlay, Ohio with UF Miss Sparkle 37C 54H. Again, congratulations to all of those exhibitors. A special thank you to our judge, Miss Macy Gretzka, Stillwater, Oklahoma. We'll look to get started with your open show over here in the Aberdeen ring in just a moment. Well, back over in the Key Angus ring, we are going to bring in all of your bold champions. Our champion out of that last division, your senior yearling division, was BJ Big John, exhibited by 5J Kianina of Polk City, Iowa.
really an impressive set of bulls here. Again, almost like a history lesson as you look through here, but just a neat set of bulls. This one here up front, again, you always like it when you have a good calf lead off and one that gets really hard to pick a big hole in. Just a lot of neat things about him come together, starts to put on and tack on some extras there. I like his skeleton, I like his flexibility there as well, and the still one, again, squareness is good, feet and legs are good, his reach is good. That one's got a world of potential to me, and there's just a lot of good going for him. Bull that came out of D2 here, again, very masculine, very rugged in terms of body shape and stoutness when you get in behind him and study him. Obviously, you want to see him a little bigger bone to match everything up high. He's maybe not quite as eye-catching at first, just a little thicker neck than maybe his contemporaries out here. That's still a good bull, though, in terms of his fundamentals, and still has some balance and proportion to him. Bull that came out of that next division, again, I think that one does a lot of good things as far as being a show bull, a show animal, but yet I still think underneath there, there's some thickness, there's some smoothness. Just looks like a female maker if you just want to get down to it, to put that kind of neck set and body shape into one and still keep it as athletic as what he does. Obviously, I'm not going to call him the powerhouse because that stands right here behind him, but boy, that's not a narrow animal whatsoever. He still gets and goes. This stout, rugged bull here that came out of this next division, I mean, that is, you can't put more muscle into one and still have him look as attractive and neat as what that bull does. He opens up extremely well. Big, massive hip there as well. And yes, it does come with some shoulder. Comes with just a little coarseness there, but the way he parks everything together still comes well. Still in my mind, I'm fighting with what he does off his rear skeleton. I like to see him just a little more conservative in the way he handles his rear skeleton. But when he stops and parks himself, boy, he's hard not to love amongst his crew. Then our 7/8 bull here on the end, again, obviously towers over everything in terms of growth and extension, and for what he is, again, I love it, and I'm glad he brought him to the show. Obviously, is he as modern looking maybe as what these are? No, but for what he is, and I do value that bull a lot and like to look and study him here. So really a neat conversation we can have. I think we got a logical one that leads off this crew. I'll go back and forth on my mind just a little bit in what we do for reserve here, but this bull right here in front of me, I think he's a stud. We're going to use him to be our champion.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion, Key Angus Bull here at the Cattlemen's Congress, coming out of your summer yearling division. Congratulations, Weingartner Show Cattle, Griswold Cattle, and Van Forest Cattle with BMW GCC Bucket List 520 JET. And congratulations, your reserve grand champion, Key Angus Bull, coming out of Class 1, your late junior bull calf champion, GOP Knockout 211K, exhibited by Kennedy and Brooks Evans of Campbellsburg, Kentucky. Congratulations to all of our exhibitors. Special thank you once again to our judge, Mr. Brandon Callis, Minco, Oklahoma. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are about ready to get started with your Open Aberdeen show over here in Ring 2. We're excited to welcome your judge today, Ms. Emily Griffiths of Kendallville, Indiana. Emily is the co-owner of 3G Ranch, a purebred seed stock operation consisting of 200 head of Limousin, Galvey, and Angus cattle. 3G Ranch's primary income comes from the sale of bulls and females to commercial cattlemen. They have extensively used the show ring as a marketing tool, raising national champions in 5 different breeds. 3G Ranch is also a 25-plus year co-op bull development partner with Wolt Cattle of Morris, Minnesota, who market 125,000 head of feed cattle. Emily has judged collegiately, being named the All-American and 2-time high individual at the North American. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Ms. Emily Griffiths to the Cattlemen's Congress.
Well, it's certainly an honor and a privilege today to be judging the Aberdeen Open Show and starting with these full-blood cattle. I think that this is just a critically important piece in terms of continuity for a breed. I know we'll have some purebreds and percentages, but still highlight these full-blood cattle. Excellent example of our May female that's going to go ahead and start this particular show. Lots of times get said a single entry that could stand more competition. I think it's really true in this case. Ultra feminine, youthful. Love her juvenile head and feature. Really some nice bloom and fill, some flesh. I think really nice today in terms of putting a halter on her and showing her, but still has a lot of potential, lots of future on down the road. Hopefully they just stair step up, not too much, but a little bit relative to size, but a great way to start our full-blood Aberdeen Open show today.
Well, congratulations in your first class over here in Ring 2, Class 2, Summer Full-Blood Heifer Calves. First place goes to ILC Kathy, 210K, exhibited by Idaho Livestock in Hayden, Idaho. We'll now bring in Class 3. These will be late spring full-blood heifer calves born April of 2022.
Well, another single entry as we progress through our full blood show, a nice spring-born heifer calf, actually a lot like her contemporary that the young lady showed in our first class of the day. Really long, like her length and extension, really to me reads good in her continuation and her lines. Just from a comparative sense, even to that one in the class before, and ultimately that's what we'll do as we start stacking up our division lineup. Maybe wedges a little bit more the wrong direction in terms of where she sits up front and her shoulder all the way to the ground, maybe a little bit narrower pin closes up underneath, kind of relative to how she's built up front, but really like her depth of side, nicely balanced, and yet again, a well-fed, well-fit, well-presented one for this particular class.
Well, congratulations in Class 3. First place exhibited by Idaho Livestock with ILC Kylie 203K. We'll now look to bring in Class 4 Spring full-blood heifer calves born March of 2022.
In our third classes of marches here in our full blood show, again, a nice single entry. Even though maybe not a lot in terms of quantity, another one that represents a tremendous amount of quality, gonna start to piece together really nicely, especially on the stand, an exquisite silhouette, really ladylike coupled and featured heifer. She's one on the go. We might like to just soften her a little bit in her pastern. That's being a nickel critical of, otherwise, though, one that's a dime, just a solid kind of class winner here in these March full-blood Aberdeens.
Well, congratulations in Class 4, first place. We'll go to ILC Candy 202K, exhibited by Idaho Livestock. We'll now look to see Class 5 before we select our Division Champion Reserve. These will be junior full-blood heifer calves born January to February of 2022.
Well, here in our full blood show, single entry January female, one that's a little bit, I think, on the different end of the spectrum, just where she sits in terms of type and kind compared to some of those other that we've evaluated. Really like her moderation. I think, regardless of how big an endpoint they're supposed to be, this one is just a little bit more toned down in terms of her frame than some of even the younger heifers. But with that, really proportions nicely. Love her in terms of her center body. Just has that cow-like rib and shape, that extra flesh, even that little extra skin up front, just to me reads really low input, bottom line profitable kind of a female. Going to be a nice division as we bring back all of these class winners, some different kinds represented, but once again another really nice single entry as we progress through our full blood show.
Well, congratulations in Class 5, first place. Go to back number 133, Doc Bridget, exhibited by Caitlin Green of Elmar, Arkansas. We're now going to bring in all those class winners, and our judge will select our champion and reserve champion, full-blood heifer calves.
Well, here in our first of our kind of real competition at this stage of our open show, three really nice, a good trio of heifers, all different types and kinds. I think actually the front two, that April and March respectively, just pair up in terms of really youthful, attractive, featured kind of females, like their head, the slimness to their neck, lay in really nicely about their shoulder. Both of these heifers are ones that on the profile probably is where they lend to having a little bit more appeal, maybe get in behind them, just not quite as much base width, and just not as much genuine animal as that older one behind them. Also maybe two that get a little bit stiltier in terms of their structure, but you really have to recognize them for their type and their kind and look. I'll admit, for me it's challenging because this heifer in third, she's just really an outlier, but in lots of good ways from a brood cow standpoint. Love her doability, her flesh, so incredibly big ribbed. She's as good as any in terms of the angle to her shoulder, the reach that she has up front. She follows up, fills her track, grabs some ground with a really loose, nimble kind of hip and hind leg. Trouble is, as we think about in this show ring setting, she's just not as sexy as those two right ahead of her. You can even see that now a little bit, just quite a bit shorter, lower fronted, gets a little coarser, staler right there at her chine, little rounder out of her hip. Don't mean to be critical of any of these as I discuss them, just kind of telling you how I read them and what makes this particular group challenging. All three really good in their own right. I'll go out and show you just as we kind of judge them today, all encompassing how I like this division, but a really great group of Aberdeen exhibitors and Aberdeen cattle. Round of applause to all of these participants in this division.
Well, congratulations, your champion in that division coming out of Class 4. Congratulations, ILC Candy 202K, exhibited by Idaho Livestock of Hayden, Idaho. Well, and congratulations back over here in the Aberdeen ring, your reserve in that division, coming out of Class 3, back number 130, exhibited by Idaho Livestock with ILC Kylie 203K.
Well, a really nice pair of late summer, early fall, August and a September, I believe, respectively. Both of these heifers, really nice quality. I don't think we need to throw the book at them structurally. There's some things I'd like to change in both of them, but I think just keeping things simple, so much more of the heifer that we're going to go ahead and start with. Just in terms of her body shape, back, hip, a little bit more foot and kind of column of bone. She's really interesting because I love her body proportions, where she sits in her forerib or midrib in relation to her flank, with still a really attractive kind of head and neck. Some may say she's got too much condition. I actually see some flesh and doability. I think the bubble in terms of doability is actually the one in second. Lots of my contemporaries would call that one fresh. I think she's just more so lean today. I like her elongation, her extension, just not that extra shot of maternal sweep or center body. And again, like the one that wins, like to lay her back in terms of her shoulder and how she gets out and goes behind. Maybe for me, though, she just doesn't have the excuse of as much mass in terms of encumbering her structure as the one that wins does, but that's a really nice pair here as we progress in age in these full-blood females.
Well, congratulations in Class 7 and your senior full-blood heifer calf division. Your champion will go to Ella Patterson, Findlay, Ohio, with UF Miss Wendy, 58G 18J. And reserve champion will go to Erica Patterson with UF Mustang Sally, 20J. We'll now look to see Class 9. Those will be spring yearling full-blood heifers, born March to April of 2021.
Well, a really nice single entry, junior yearling, a springborn 21 female, one that really catches your eye. I think even if we had 1 or 10 out here, not just in terms of her color, but really the quintessential in terms of balance, just where her chest sits in relation to that middle part of her body, while still having an appropriate amount of feminine kind of muscle pattern. Really like her on the stand. I think she's a class act there. Maybe on the go, if you relax her a little bit in her spine, maybe pick her up a little bit there in terms of her head, relax her in her shoulder, I think that'll allow her to be a little bit freer, more mobile and flexible underneath. But on the stand, that one's really going to be a contender. And yet again, a really nice bookmark as we progress through this full-blood show. Another really nice automatic division winner out here.
Well, congratulations. Your champion senior yearling full-blood heifer goes back number 136, HAR 5J, exhibited by Caitlin Green of Alma, Arkansas. We'll now look to see Class 11. These will be senior yearling full-blood heifers born September to December of 2020.
Well, here in our at Full Blood Aberdeen show, a nice pair of females, and I think a little bit Groundhog Day. We could echo lots of things that we discussed for these exhibitors in our prior class. Yet again, I just think quite a bit more to this heifer that wins. And again, we could maybe freshen her up a little bit. I'd like to freshen myself up most days, peel a little fat off, and I think you'd like how she gets out and goes. She's maybe got a little bit there right there at the seat of her pants, makes her get outside of her skeleton. But in terms of true forerib shape, having a really maternal kind of sweep, and frankly to me today, looking just a little bit more gestationally advanced, I think she's the play to tie into. Aesthetically, would we like to shorten her up in her toe? Certainly. Both of these females could use reassembled in terms of how they move out of their front end. They get a little stilty, a little upright, want to get a little short and shuffly off of those rear two. So again, structure's a wash, just so much more of the heifer that wins. Heifer in second is a little bit leaner, a little bit greener, dare say a little fresher today. I think for a really a breed that's known for being low input, forage efficient, there's just not as much to that one. A little bit narrower there in her chest and right there at her knee, a little bit more collapsed and concave right there in her forerib. She's one that, again, really good, well fit, well fed, well presented, just in two heifers that maybe have some same issues on the go, just so much more mass, so much more cow-like power in that one that wins, but still a nice balanced one in second. Good pair of heifers, could go a lot of different ways on a given day.
Congratulations in our last division here in your Full Blood show. Your champion will go to Alla Patterson, Findlay, Ohio, with UF Miss Tasha 28D 53H, and reserve champion will go to Erica Patterson with UF Miss Sparkle 27C 54H. We're now going to bring those division champion reserves into the ring, and our judge will select her grand and reserve grand champion full blood heifers.
Well, an excellent set here in our Full Blood Aberdeen show, and really kind of a shame we don't have more spectators, because this kind of lineup is deserving of that. I think so critically important to still maintain the integrity of these high percentage full blood cattle, just in terms of really fit to form, and obviously they have a very specific purpose, as do all of our breeds. You know, I'm sure there were some snickers, I heard a few of them, about the Full Blood Key show, the bull that showed across the ring. That's not all bad to still have some integrity of breed kind and composition. I've been a top 15 key breeder for several years in the past, so maybe I can be a little critical on them, but you can get a little off course down to a very small percent of what should be powerful genetics. So to still keep in mind these high percentage cattle, reward and recognize them, you end up maintaining this kind of quality. Excellent group, been really fun to sort. Know that we still have lots of good cattle to be able to thumb through, but two in particular just suit me really nicely out here. There were several deep in these divisions, even though we may have had two, but they're certainly contenders, and just a coin toss in terms of how you read them today. I'll go out and show you which two I happen to like best, but round of applause to all of these Aberdeen breeder and exhibitors.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion here in our open Full Blood Heifer Show. Alla Patterson, Findlay, Ohio, coming out of your senior heifer calf division with UF Miss Wendy 58G18J. And congratulations, your reserve grand champion coming out of our first division. Congratulations goes to Idaho Livestock with ILC Kathy 210K. Again, congratulations to those exhibitors. We're now going to get started with your percentage female show. We'll bring in Class 1. This will be summer percentage heifer calves born June and after.
Well, a really outstanding way to start off our percentage show. Summer-born June heifer, so really still got a lot of time, and I think the right kind of parts and pieces to continue in an awfully nice direction. But one that, as we judge him today, incredible amount of bloom, still really I think fits the purpose of what we need at any age or any size in terms of balance, completeness, totals of structure, substance, and style. She has all those things. A really nice June female to start the show, as we mentioned in the full bloods. Obviously, we'd like them to stair step up a little bit in terms of size, not too much. But if not, this is a great way to start our percentage show here in our Aberdeens.
Well, congratulations in Class 1. First place, go to back number 116, DCS Crackle 10K, exhibited by Ava Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now bring in Class 2. These will be summer percentage heifer calves born May of 2022.
Well, just a single entry, May heifer, as we continue through this summer calf division. And obviously one, as we mentioned earlier, gets set oftentimes, could stand more competition. I think that that's entirely true in this case. Just so great and proportional, uniform in her body depth in the way that she's made, balance and look. I think acceptable enough in terms of structure, just as an individual, because they haven't made a perfect one yet. Might like to loosen her up in her hip, give her a little bit more flex and cushion there to a rear pastern, but just a really up-headed, elegant, graceful kind of heifer. I think probably doubled up there what it appears on some British influence in her Aberdeen and maybe some Hereford, but a really nice heifer here as a single entry in this class.
Well, congratulations in Class 2. First place, go to back number 117, CLT Miss Red Perf 01K, exhibited by Patterson Family Farm in Findlay, Ohio. We'll now bring those firsts in and select a champion reserve in this division.
really nice division here in our summer, June and May females. We bring them back out here. I think they have a lot of similarities in terms of their quality balance. We talk about kind of being that, not the most important thing, but certainly the bow on the hat is presentation and profile, and these have both of that in spades. Maybe a little bit different just in terms of kind. Young lady's black heifer, really ultra feminine. Like her in terms of her neck. I think she's going to be a really nice, long-term, fresh kind of show prospect. Maybe not that extra shot of flesh or just feature in terms of foot and bone work is that red and white one right behind her, but really a classy, elegant kind of heifer. Her best days are ahead of her. That's going to be an exciting project all the way around for years to come. This red baldy Hereford kind of influenced looking female, certainly the really heavy duty one, mean that as a compliment in terms of her foot shape, bone work, kind of matches her head and neck and just burlier, stouter, square kind of makeup. High. She's maybe just not that extra juvenile, youthful look. Be interesting to see where she sits on in terms of a mature frame. I think she's naturally just bigger kind of cattle, but a really good quality pair. Great way to start our percentage show. I'll go out and show you how I like them today, but round of applause to both of these exhibitors.
Well, congratulations over here in your percentage show. Your champion in that first division, congratulations. We'll go to back number 117, CLT Miss Red Perf 01K, exhibited by Patterson Family Farm in Findlay, Ohio. And reserve champion and congratulations goes to Ava Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma, with DCS Crackle 10K. We'll now bring in your next class in your division here. This will be Class 3, late spring percentage heifer calves, born April of 2022.
Well, a really nice February percentage heifer out here. Just a fun one to study, probably even more so as an individual. You have the opportunity to really appreciate her. I think just really sits right in terms of her maturity and growth curve today. Good in her rib, really lots of depth of body. I think she's a ladylike in the kind of muscle pattern and shape that she has, yet uniquely she goes to the ground with some natural width, north and south on the way her toes point. She's probably as good in her underpinnings as anything that we've seen all day. She may have a little extra head and a little extra throat and chest, but given my background, don't mind that at all. I think that only adds to her in terms of long term. I think she's going to have some flesh and some doability. You can tell just a single entry that I like awfully well. Young man's got a nice one in this particular February class.
Well, congratulations in Class 3, first place. Go to back number 118, DCS Kuna 3K, exhibited by Connor Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now look to see Class 4, spring percentage heifer calves, born March of 2022.
Well, got a little out of sequence, I think, going with the exhibitor's word on the age on that one before. Maybe that's really is. But March heifers out here, a really nice group. Heifer that wins, if you've been following the bouncing ball, she's one that I think just has that cow-like look, that rib shape, just so much more dimensional than anything amongst this group out here. Maybe with that being said, she's also a little bit borderline round, just in terms of how she handles her hip and her hind leg, borderline just in terms of getting outside of her skeleton. Part of that, I think, is because there's just so much to her, and I think if you miss the forest for the trees, you'll get lost in the woods. She's the one to tie into in this particular class. Heifer in second, a little bit different type and kind, but I think she pairs up with that one right ahead of her, just in terms of doability, a little bit looser heighted, quite a bit deeper bodied, just so much more width of chest in relation to where her hip and her pin width is compared to those two heifers right behind her. Obviously not in the same league as that one right ahead of her. Just as you study her in terms of how she's built up front, you'd like to fold her together a little bit more north-south up there. She kind of wants to come apart right in there behind her chine and how she hooks into her shoulder, but still just like her extra shot of flesh and doability. Heifers here actually in third and fourth have some similarities. This heifer in third, I love her look, just so up-headed, really tall-shouldered. Maybe for me, though, in terms of if you want to belly up to the bar on that one, she's just a little bit more plateful of profile. Take her to either end. That one really wants to get narrow in her chest. She just has to be more pulled apart. Like that look, there just has to be a little bit more mass there. And then that heifer that's going to end up in fourth, I think once that one wants to play show cow, gets a little bit more comfortable with being in the ring, you'll like her even better. As we look at her today, she maybe for me wedges a little bit the wrong direction in terms of the angle and straightness that she had up there through her shoulder, comes apart a little bit up front in relation to that kind of narrow that she gets right in behind. But a really good class there of our March females to sort.
Well, congratulations in Class 4. First place to go to She's Got Time 2K, exhibited by Wyatt Brock of Spring Hill, Kansas. Second place went to Rhett Nickel of Maud, Oklahoma. Third place, and congratulations will go to Rhiannon Nickel. And fourth place, exhibited by Idaho Livestock. Now bringing Class 5 junior percentage heifer calves born January to February of 2022. After this class, we will go into your junior heifer calf division.
Well, here a really nice pair of late winter heifer calves, February females. One that wins, I think just a really solid one to tie into. Just does all the things, regardless of kind, color, or creed of cattle that we should be looking for at this stage of the game. I just love her in terms of the cow-like utility that she has, just so appropriate in how she matches a rib shape. Has some muscle and some power, I think, for next generation. Going to have some incentives there, but it still fits really eloquently on her framework. Good at the ground in terms of her kind of column of bone and foot. It matches the feature and how she reads up top. Maybe on the go, again, if we're going to get a little bit critical, she wants to get a little bit lower in how she carries her head and neck. I think that's because she's just a little bit shorter there in the length of her neck, but one that when we get her stopped and on the stand and judge them on the profile, like so many of us want to do nowadays, she still puts together that really high quality, high class kind of silhouette. Heifer in second, unfortunately, just has to compete with that one right ahead of her. This would be an interesting one. I certainly wouldn't hang your hat and to continue to work and feed on, because that's what she needs. She's just really lean and green at that stage. One ahead of her could get a little fat and a little full and a little piecey, I think, if they're not careful. So this one's always going to be the really fresh, lean option. Just not as much of her today. Wants to get a little bit stiltier and straighter off either end, and I think that is exacerbated because there's just not that as much of her. But a really good pair there to discuss. Quite a pair, and I really like that one that wins.
Well, congratulations in Class 5. First place, we'll go to back number 123, ILC Kokomo 3K, exhibited by Miranda Morgan of Morgan, Utah. And second place in that class, exhibited by Solon's Ranch of Maud, Oklahoma. We'll now bring in those first and seconds and select a champion reserve in this division.
Well, these percentage cattle continue to get good, and this division is really, I think, exemplifies that great trio. I think that you, though, have a pair of heifers that bookend this division. They go together because they're just really good kind of cattle. I don't think they're necessarily similar, but that's okay given the numbers. Just want to sort good quality cattle up. One that, for me, wins is just as you get in behind these cattle, study true mass, dimension, just in terms of actual forerib hip shape, and yet uniquely enough does it with a little bit more youthful head, a little less throat, and a little less chest. But they're a really high quality pair of heifers. I think don't know what we still have to shape up, but it's already an awfully competitive drive as we're starting to build and formulate. Round of applause to this group of spring calf exhibitors.
Well, congratulations, your champion junior percentage heifer here in our Aberdeen show, coming out of Class 5, ILC Kokomo 3K, exhibited by Miranda Morgan of Morgan, Utah. And reserve in that division, coming out of Class 3, congratulations to Connor Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma, with DCS Kuna 3K. We'll now bring in Class 7 senior percentage heifer calves, born September to October of 2021.
single entry senior heifer calf of the young ladies. Again, she brings us another really nice one. Tremendous length and extension on this one. Really long up front. Love her down her spine. Really long out of her hip. I think could be a really interesting breeding piece because she's still relatively right size, but maybe add some length and extension. I think just lots of possibilities for that young duo. A really nice single entry heifer here in this particular class division.
Well, congratulations. First place in Class 7 and your champion senior heifer calf will go to Ava Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma with TCS Breeze 1D44J. We'll now look to see your next class. This will be Class 8.
Well, a single entry, yearling female, springborn. I think one that as we roll into that previous class, lots of things that you can say about this one that are similarities. Just love the kind of extension that she has. Naturally, she's just a little bit bigger in her kind, but I think she handles it really nicely in terms of her structure. Really nice in her foot and her toe shape. Bone matches her framework that she has up high. We've seen some relative to their age that maybe have a shot more center body, and that's, I think, what keeps this one from good to great. But in terms of profile and silhouette, balance is really impeccably nice single entry in this class.
Well, congratulations in Class 8. Your champion summer yearling heifer will go to DCS Jill 12J, exhibited by Wyatt Brock of Spring Hill, Kansas. We'll now look to bring in Class 9 spring yearling percentage heifers born March to April of 2021.
Well, just a single entry, March female, one that just really nice. Like to see her have to have some more competition out here because I think that she'd be showcased and highlighted even more so. Great in terms of her balance and proportions. Talk about those parallel lines. She really has those. Really fresh-headed, fresh-haired, fresh-heighted. Like her at the stand, again, just in terms of how her underpinnings matches the kind of body and framework that she has up high. Maybe just study and discuss her as an individual. She's one that wants to get a little bit more upright on those rear too. And I think for me, certainly not here to frame them, but she's starting to get plenty big, just relative to some of the more moderate ones long term that we've seen. But not to take anything away, just discussing how I read that one. Really nice, good quality kind of female, going to continue to be a competitive show.
Well, congratulations in Class 9. First place, go to back number 127. ILC Jenny 17J, exhibited by Benjamin Burling of Gardner, Kansas. Now in the ring will be Class 10 junior yearling percentage heifers.
Well, a really nice, I think, truly prolific kind of British-looking female, and mean all those things as a positive. She's just so good and attractive there through her head, really refined appropriately in her feature up front, neatly laid in about her shoulder. I love that sweep that she has to her rib. Like her underneath on the stand, once again, we talk about everything matching. Maybe not as much foot and bone as some of the other ones, but that's okay, again, because it just matches that kind of refined framework through that upper part of her skeleton. She's one that at this stage, and probably she's starting to progress gestationally, that's exacerbated, maybe a little bit PC, wants to get a little bit high right there in her top line, a little bit tighter there. Part of it, I think, is because she just has all that center body in that rib. Maybe wants to get a little bit lower and kind of duck that neck back into her chine. But on the stand, a really nice female. Love her maternal sweep. Great utility in that one. I think going to be an interesting division there of females. Nice heifer for that young man.
Congratulations in Class 10, first place. We'll go to back number 128, DVRF Miss Winata J5 PLD, exhibited by Connor Summers of Lindsay, Oklahoma. We'll now bring those class winners in, selected champion reserve in our junior yearling heifer division.
Well, a really nice pair here in this division of yearling females. And like we've talked so much, and it doesn't matter what frame size you get in composite females or some that have a little bit of different influence, you're going to get some different type and kind depending on what that genetic base is. And I think this really exemplifies that out here. Two very different kinds of heifers, just kind of depends on where you sit. Actually, I'll be the first to admit, probably the one that I'm going to use in this division isn't my go-to in terms of cow-like shape, head shape, jaw, and rib shape, but what she is the winner in is terms of balance and just style overall, the way that she silhouettes and holds herself together. And in this kind of competition, in terms of having some unique breeding pieces, I think that that's still critically important as we think about elite kind of females that we're showcasing out here. But with that said, both of these really incredible kind of females, just kind of depends on where you sit on them and on this given day. Let's give both of these individuals a round of applause. Nice pair of percentage Aberdeens.
Well, congratulations, your champion junior yearling. We'll go to back number 127. Congratulations, Benjamin Burling. And reserve champion, we'll go to back number 128, exhibited by Connor Summers. We'll now bring in those division champion and reserves, and our judge will select her grand and reserve grand champion percentage females.
Well, just a really outstanding lineup of females out here. And know that we still have the bulls to sort through, but just such an incredible group. And I think represent just their purpose and their function so incredibly well. I've had the opportunity to show a lot of different breeds. And being in the seed stock business, I think purebred cattle are so vitally important because they're still very much meant to serve a purpose. And these females out here are that. I don't have to tell each and every one of you that these are efficient, good utilization of forage kind of cattle. They're moderate. They can work in a lot of different production systems. And as you all know, talk is the only thing that's cheap in the cow business, and that's never been truer than it is now. Low input cost. You're really in a niche that I think has some bigger picture kind of implications in terms of low input cattle that have that real world usability. And end of the day, as lots of you know, and you know, I think it's too bad that maybe you don't have more of a crowd here because I think a lot of people would be shocked with these moderate, smaller frame kind of cattle. Certainly are bringing from an industry perspective, but just in terms of human interest, these cattle are bringing 3 and 4 times of what people's average production sale of what they think are a little bit more practical cattle. So you guys have cattle that are low input, low cost, that you're almost tripling in terms of what they're bringing, and I think that's just the coolest thing. You want to talk about cattle that have a purpose, those are that in spades. And then you get that little percentage, a little variation, something different. I think even with all that being said, though, it still is true to just picking good cattle. It doesn't matter what kind, what color, what size they come in. For me, we have a very specific kind of breeding program in what we do. And that's kind of going to follow along the type and kind and the lines of what I'm going to pick out here. All incredibly good, all the way down from our calves to our older female down here on the end. And again, lots of different schools of thought know and understand the work that these older cattle, longer age cattle take. You want to talk about a lot more inputs, a lot being more resource and labor intensive. That's what those cattle are. But I also know that that's our bread and butter is people staking and making a vested interest and really putting it out there and taking a kind of a guess, if you will, on these younger cattle. It would be easy if everybody could just buy bred females and 3-year-old bulls, but that's not really when we sell cattle for the highest premiums. They're still at those calves. So for me, any age isn't off the table because we show each and every one of them for a purpose. I'll go out and show you which 2 today that I like best, but this has been an incredible lineup. Lots of good cattle out here, lots of good cattle that have gone back to the barn, and you guys are breeding good cattle that are profitable, and that's all regardless of what breed or how we're registering them is what we should be focused on in the cow business. So great lineup. Round of applause to these exhibitors. I'll go out and select a champion in reserve.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion percentage female goes to back number 123, ILC Kokomo 3K, exhibited by Miranda Morgan, Morgan, Utah. And congratulations, your reserve champion percentage heifer will come out of class 9. Congratulations, Benjamin Burling, Gardner, Kansas, with ILC Jenny 17J. We'll now get started with your percentage Aberdeen Bull Show. We'll look to bring in class 2 summer percentage bull calves born May of 2022.
I think even though the first bull class already getting down to brass tacks, but again, that's okay because this is a great way to start a really useful kind of breeding piece. Really, I think on that cusp of having some masculinity, yet still some gas in his tank, some grow left, like how he's starting to mature, good at the ground, lots of longevity and seasons of service on that one. Just a solid way to start our pretty abbreviated bull show, but I think we're going to have quality in spades.
Well, congratulations in your first division here in our percentage bull calf division. First place will be Deep Creek Seed Stock, Mitchell, Nebraska, with DCS Cool Dude 9K.
Well, just a really nice single entry. I think, we could throw the book and throw out every term. And, I come from a judging background, and sometimes people say a lot, and they don't need to say much. This is just a really nice one, great representative. Glad to have him come to the Cattlemen's Congress. Really nice way to end our short bull show. Going to be a really good pair to sort through.
Well, congratulations in class 9. First place, go to back number 140, DCS Just Fine 218J, exhibited by Dove Valley Regenerative Farms, Idaho Livestock, Deep Creek Seed Stock, and H/Bar Livestock.
Well, just really an outstanding pair of bulls, and mention it in the heifer show. Really a shame we don't have more of a crowd because I think anybody that has the opportunity to see good cattle should be seized and taken advantage of. And this is a great pair of bulls. The great thing about the cow business, alluded to that in the heifer show, is it's just so unique to area and territory of the country. White hog in Ontario looks the same as it does in Florida. A Holstein in Washington State looks the same as she does in southern Texas. That's not true of the cattle business. There's cattle that work different places, do different things, and can complement and accommodate lots of different parts. Is kind of that last outdoor production system. One that wins this show, probably, I'm a pretty good poker player most of the time until I find a good one that I like, because I know how much work, how much effort it is. Doesn't matter what kind of cattle we're breeding. That old bull bull that comes out of that second division. He's just really great kind of cattle. He should see way more than Aberdeen cows. He'll be your champion. Bull calf will be reserved. Let's give both of those exhibitors a round of applause.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion percentage bull here at the Cattlemen's Congress in your Aberdeen show, exhibited by Dove Valley Regenerative Farms, Idaho Livestock, Deep Creek Seed Stock, and H/Bar Livestock. DCS Just Fine 218J, and reserve champion will go to DCS Cool Dude 9K, exhibited by Deep Creek Seed Stock. We do have a full-blood bull to show here in ring 2.
Well, here in our last class, a regular confirmation class of our Aberdeen show, know we have some group classes, probably one of the only banners that will be given out at the Cattlemen's Congress that be said that the right thing was done, and this one's deserving. But with that being said, it's been an incredible show. Lots of good cattle all the way through. I always get excited when I have the opportunity to judge any of these breeds, and I have Aberdeens really from kind of coast to coast at this point, and they're just awfully good cattle. This show was a great display of that. I think, frankly, some of the Angus guys that are showing the bigger cattle that they think are better need to look in terms of some true substance, some true width, usability, and industry relevance, because these Aberdeen cattle were as good as any relative to their size and kind. There's some really nice breeding pieces. This bull, again, really usable, lots of longevity, going to be a solid kind of a herd sire like all the bulls in this show. Great testicular size and distension. They're more moderate size as an excuse. They still have those really masculine kind of features. A really great deserving representative. Let's end our regular classes in the Aberdeen show, everyone in the stands and ringside. Round of applause. Excellent group of cows.
Well, congratulations, your grand champion full-blood bull here at the Cattlemen's Congress in our Aberdeen show. Back number 142, ILC Keystone 205K, exhibited by Idaho Livestock, Hayden, Idaho. I do believe we have a few group classes. We'll bring in your Proto Sedan, followed by your best 6-head.